Thank you to Allison for coordinating all the food. Allison. It was excellent. It's very good. Also, want to welcome Mom and Dad here. Grandma and Grandpa. All the way from Roseville. So, good to have them here. So, and then I just, on behalf of the Warnerstein Family Council, I want to welcome everybody here. But I also want to thank you for taking the time. Everybody's got busy schedules, but I want to thank you for taking the time to be here tonight. We hope these meetings are of value to you. We continue to look for topics and or speakers that will have some relevance and hopefully some value to you. So if we've always said, and from time to time we do get comments or somebody will say, hey, what about this or what about that for meetings? So don't be bashful if you've got an idea or something, say this might be a good topic. We've got some already in the hopper, but we can always use more, and then we'll try to make a decision. So we've been doing them twice a year, and I think that works out pretty well. Does everybody think that's enough for the meetings?
Yep.
So we'll just continue to do that. But tonight I'm very excited. We've got our guest speaker today, Angie, and Angie and I had coffee. Angie, about 5 weeks ago?
Yeah.
Something like that. And I asked Angie if she'd be willing to do this, but one of the things that you kind of hear in today's world, in the work world and then the family world, is work-life balance. And you kind of hear a lot about it, and there's a lot of talk out there about work-life balance and what that means. But we actually have someone that has done it and done it for some time now. And so what we thought was let's ask Angie if she'd be willing to come up and kind of talk about how she's kind of through her career had to kind of manage and juggle that and have a successful career and also have a successful home life with her family. So with that, let's welcome Angie to the
Thanks, Dad. Kristen said she was my #1 fan, but I think Dad is. So yes, thank you all for coming, and it's so cold out. I'm glad to see Grandma and Grandpa here. That means a lot to me. Yes, they asked me to do this, and I wasn't expecting it, and it's any one of you I feel could have. You all have stories, and so it's nice that they asked me. And a few years back, some of us took what's called Myers-Briggs. Everybody knows what that is, where we learned a lot about ourselves. And I learned that I'm 100% extroverted, which is super unusual. And while it's true that I do love talking and being social, this is hard for me to get up in front of you guys and talk and not have social time. And speak about myself. So I just want to say that I'll do my best. But this is my story and the story about how I got to be here today in front of all you, telling you about myself. I have tons of memories about Warnerstein growing up, which I think is really great and something that not everybody necessarily in this room and definitely in the 4G are going to get to experience, because it was so young back then when I was a little girl. And my first memories include driving up there all the time with my mom to visit my dad, bring him lunch. It was part of the best times of the day when we would get to do that. It seemed we were up there all the time, and we begged to go see Grandpa. Grandpa would give us electricity. Anybody remember electricity? He was so strong and so funny, and he always had jokes. If we were really lucky, Uncle Bernie was there. He would give us $1. Super exciting. That was the best. Without fail, he always had $1. And then we would get a penny from Grandpa for the gumball machine at the front of the store, which was big deal too. And I loved, as a child, this is one of the best things. When I was little, some kids played house, some kids played school, but me and Kristen and Julie played Warnerstein. And we played it all the time. I was the boss and also the salesperson. No surprise. I was the boss and I was the person that was the salesperson. Kristen was the receptionist. And Julie was the bad customer. And her name was
Susan Backlot.
Susan Backlot, that was her name. I don't know, but we still remember it. We played it enough that our bad customer had a name, and we still remember it. But we would take the remotes from the TVs up into our room, and we would play for a long time. And that was fun. So little did I know I was like in training for my career path to learn how to do that. But anyway, I think, how do I say? Let's see. I started working for Grandpa, like maybe when I was like 12 or 13. Rose and I were in charge of keeping the parking lot clean, which was a big job. It was really messy. People are pigs. There were cigarette butts everywhere and garbage, and so he would pay us like $5 an hour to like go and clean it up, make sure. It was really important to him that it looked really tidy. I started getting like a little bit of a taste for money and what it was like to have money. And between babysitting the Bob and Colette family and other families in the neighborhood and doing that for Grandpa, I knew like I wanted to work. So I kept trying to find ways to get to work. In like 1993, when Dad started going down to Apple Valley, I wanted to go with him, and I think he was fine with that, but I would go down and clean the bathrooms and clean the appliances, and eventually maybe started answering phones a little bit, but Uncle Billy was there, and it was just fun times to listen to your dad. And that's one thing that not all of us are going to necessarily get to experience either, which I don't take for granted. Being able to like hear him do that at a young age was really cool. And also, I started working at the St. Paul store not too long even after that. I would go to school all day, and then I would get done, and I would go to the St. Paul store after choir or show choir or whatever I was doing and work till 9. And I remember wanting to do my homework, but Auntie Carla, and to her credit, was like, when you're at work, you work. And I was like, oh. Okay, all right. So, I mean, I had to learn that if I wanted to do that, then I needed to find, I mean, that's not a dig on her. Like, she taught me things about what it meant to, like, have work ethic and, like, find stuff to do. Oh, you're bored? Go find something to do. So, I still have that. That's something that I learned a long time ago. And anyway, so I really liked being up there. I liked doing that job. Learning how to talk to people on the phone, all that good stuff. I mean, it was a good experience, and then that wasn't even enough. So then Rose and I would work at the St. Paul store during the day, and then we would work at the warehouse at night when that opened on Sycamore, and that was the best job because that's where the delivery boys were. And so, that was just fun times over there at the warehouse. Also, I cleaned at the warehouse with Joe Ernster, and I remember Uncle Bob being real serious about, this is an important job. You have to get these cleaned just right. And just, so we worked really hard on that. And Joe Ernster still works there, which I think is just really cool that he's still there after we started cleaning used appliances.
He's going to officially hang it up in January.
No, but still, that's a long time.
A long time.
Yeah. I remember one specific time cleaning used appliances on the back dock. And there were like maggots in the fridge, and it was just really not good. And there were times when I thought, like, I can't, Dad, I don't want to do this job. I don't want to be up there anymore doing this kind of stuff. But, just part of it. Some days you're going to have bad days. Some of the details of this might be out of order, like when I was working at different places and whatever, but the details are not super important. At some point I moved into dispatch at the warehouse where I was like answering phones and all that kind of stuff, and I really loved that. And then I thought I would go away to college for a little while, and I decided this at the very last minute because all of you may know that my heart was in music, and I thought I would do this for a career. I thought that was what I was going to do, but junior year I lost my voice and had surgery and never sang again really the same way. And I had to figure out at the last minute, like I wasn't being scouted, there were no scholarships, everything had kind of fallen apart, and I thought, I'm just going to stay here. And then at the last minute I didn't stay, and I went down to St. Mary's, and it was not great for me down there. I had a bad time down there. It only lasted for one semester, and I came home and I was depressed and sad, and I said, I don't know what I want to do. And he said, Uncle John, Dad, Uncle John has a spot at Minneapolis. Why don't you meet with him? see what he has to say. Okay. So I did that, and we met at Champs on December 29th, 1998, and he had like a yellow legal pad, and he wrote me all these notes down about how important schedules were and being there on time and what he expected of me, and it was like my first kind of like interview, if I ever had one. And it was really cool, and I started right away, and it was making $7 an hour, and I had the worst schedule in the store, rightly so. I worked every Friday night, and that was when you used to work, you know, some of them remember, you had one day during the week where you worked all day. You didn't have 12:30 to 9, you worked 8:30 to 9. But I loved it, and there was no training. You didn't like come in and have weeks of training and all these trips. You just like, you show up for your first day at work, and it's like, some of you might remember these people, but it's Andy Larson, Tim Zimiot, of course, you know, and who else? Well, anyway, John Crawford, they say, go ahead. And I was like, what? Well, what is anybody going to tell me what to do? No, just go out there and sell them a washer. But I did, and I was really proud of myself. And for weeks, because I was living with my dad and my mom still, I brought home all my pinks, and I showed them, and I was pretty proud of myself. And I liked how that made me feel. I liked when people appreciated me. I liked when they said I was doing a good job, and when I could see the numbers. And that first year I made the $1 Million Club, which at the time was kind of a big deal. It was kind of fresh, and it was exciting for me. And so I kept on that path. I think it was at some point during maybe my third year, my second year, that I got pregnant with Liam and got married. And that was all not that hard for me at the time. Like, I don't remember feeling stressed out when I had my first baby. Now, if you talked to me 16 years ago, I probably was. But when you're at the place where you have 5 kids now, it's just, I don't remember. But I think I probably was worried sometimes about not being home with him and making enough time. It all kind of rolls together for a while, where then I had Colin, and I was still working at Minneapolis, but I remember wanting to get to St. Paul, because I thought if I could get closer to home, then I could be a better mom. I could be a little closer to home. And Carla was like, you know, we're going to open another store, and I think it's in your best interest to just hold on. Just wait a little bit longer, and you'll be really happy. And I was like, okay. So Edina opened, and Colin was a baby, and I moved there, and it was really great. I loved it right away, and it was like windows and doors were opening everywhere for me. Not necessarily just by chance. I mean, I have to say I was working really hard to open them for myself. I really wanted to make something of the move and make everybody proud and do all that. And my brother Jeff was there, and it was like, seriously, we still talk about it, like some of the very best times of like so far our careers here, because we just had a lot of fun, and we worked really, really hard, but we had a lot of fun. Anyway, so and I think that there was some time there where, you know, it was really hard to, you know, I was starting to get into the part where I was going to maybe needing, like, I was getting a little bit more known, so I needed to go to some events and do some things. And I always wanted to be at them, because it's very fun to do those things for me. Not for everybody, but for me, it's really fun to go to those things and meet more people and talk to more people and tell more people about Warner Stellian and what we do and how special I think this is. So one thing that I think everybody gets to find out about me when they're talking to me, when they meet me, is that this is whether I'm at a work event or not, this is my family business. This is what I do. And also, I have 5 kids, and I'm really proud of my family. So those are the things that I always speak about. And anyway, I'm going to these events, and that's one thing that I at this point really wanted to kind of like talk to you guys about, is that it's okay sometimes to say no, and I think that's hard for me. But it's something that needs to happen sometimes, because you can't, like, there's always events. And it doesn't matter what field of work you're in. You could be in a different company, but there's always going to be things to go to. But then on the flip side, say yes once in a while, because it opens up doors and windows, like I said. And I wouldn't be where I am today, at least in my career, if I would have said no to all those things, because it's been really, really good for me. I'm way off of my notes, so just a minute. I think what I want to say now is, like, Stella came in 2005, and I had been at Edina since 2003. It opened in 2003. And I remember the first day I went back to work. And it was a really hard day for me. I cried all the way back to work, the whole way. I bawled. And I thought, I can't do this. I cannot do this. And I remember that on the radio was Coldplay, Fix You. And I thought, God has a sense of humor. He just wants me to feel this right now. So I did, and then I got to work, and GERS had come. I don't know if any of you remember, but August 2015, GERS came. So I showed up to work, and I couldn't use the computers. And I really thought, like, oh my gosh, I need to go home. I can't do this. And they sent me down to Apple Valley to meet with Jody so I could learn how to use it. And then when I got there, I realized that I had forgotten my pump. And so, to the moms all know, then I was just a mess. I was like, I gotta go home. But I made it through. But that was a really hard time in my life where I felt like it was pivotal. Like, I needed to either commit or stay home. And I think, like, you're emotional when you first come back, and it's okay to feel those things. And I remember having conversations, too, specifically with Rose and with my sister Kristen, like, that you can't do it both ways, and I don't think that's true. I think you just it's a learning process. I had to learn how to manage having a family and working, and you have to ask for help. And you have to, like I said, learn how to say no, which is a work in progress. And it's not just about work things saying no. It's about friends and like parties and different things like that too. But I came back, and I was loving Edina. I was shining there. It was a happy time. In 2006, I had my best year ever, in spite of probably it being one of the hardest years of my life. That's when I was going through the divorce with Rick, and it was a really, really hard year, and it was still, again, I was really shining at work. And if I look back, I think it's no secret I probably wasn't spending as much time at home as I could be, because home was hard. So work was an escape, and I don't know that I'm super proud about that, but I'm an open book. Then I came off of that, and I met someone who was finally supportive. Like, there was many, many times in my career where I felt like I was with somebody who didn't love my company, and that was something that you guys, I don't want to sugarcoat that. It was not supported. There was almost like a hate or it was just a big issue that Warner Stallion was in my life, and it was not leaving my life, and I needed to let that be known that, like, I was going to stay working there, and I loved my job, but I also loved my family, my kids. And so anyway, I met someone who I could work with and I could be married to, that supported my career. And finally I felt like I had a little bit more balance, where I could be at work and do my job, but I wanted to go home. At the end of the day, I wanted to go home, and I wanted to be a mom, and I wanted to be with my kids. And it had changed for me a little bit at that point. There was good times then. At that point, I had Noah, and I thought I would stay home, and I came back. And then I had Alice, and I thought I would stay home, and I came back because I truly love it there. One thing that is true about being a mom and having a job is that when you go to work, a lot of times, if you love your job, you get a lot of validation when you're at your job. You get a lot of pats on the backs, and you're doing a great job, and you're awesome. And when you're at home, ask any of the stay-at-home moms. That's hard. You don't get a lot of that. And so finding that balance between knowing that you're loved at home, even if you're not hearing it all the time and things aren't rosy and wonderful, is important. And that's something I'm always continually working on. And, you know, we don't always have dinner prepared gourmet, and we don't always have the house clean, and we don't, everything is not, I mean, my kid missed his first day of kindergarten this year. So, you know, sometimes things aren't great, but I'm doing the best I can. And they get it. They see me working really hard, and they see Chuck working really hard, and they know that we're doing it for them. Because truly, that's what it is. It's so that they can have a great future. And I want them to have a love of work. I don't want to come home every day and complain about work so that my kids think, oh, someday I'm going to have to get a job and I'm going to have to go there and it's going to be awful. Because I don't feel like that. I tell my sister Julie, and I'll tell anybody, I am still excited every day to go to work. And that's great. Like, I don't think a lot of people have that, and that's honest, true, like, that's a feeling I get Monday through Thursday. Now, the one thing about work-life balance that I think was different for Grandpa and for my dad and some of these other people in another generation is that they didn't have email and some of these things that allow us to be connected to our jobs all the time. And so that is something that you have to figure out. If you have a job where that is part of the job, that you have to be connected all the time, and have to be, you don't have to be. But if you can be, and you choose to be, and your kids see that, and they feel less than, that's a problem. So I have to work really hard on that, because in sales, it's easy to want to be connected all the time and want to always please people and be, you know. It's one of the reasons that I'm so well liked and respected is because I communicate really well with my clients, and I'm always available. But people get it when you say, you know, I got this, or I have this, or I'm not going to be available. Sometimes it's okay to do that, and you have to stick to it. I had a guy on Thursday. I said, I can only work till 4. I got to go to my daughter's preschool choir concert tonight. And he said, I really respect you for sticking to your schedule and making your family important. And it was really sweet that he said that, and it doesn't happen very often because most people don't get it.
Did he make you stay till 4:30 then?
Yeah. Just only till then, though. I had to go. But he did actually, Bob. He did, and he kept looking at his watch. But it was good. I think the other thing that was missing maybe before, and I don't want to, I have to say that the other thing that was maybe missing from my life before and that I have now is faith and God, and that when that was missing, then I couldn't have this balance that I have now, and maybe that's different for everybody, but for me, it's important, and it's something that I am working on and makes me feel better and like I have a better handle on it because it's bigger than me. It's bigger than me, and so if anybody is struggling with how to manage, I would encourage you to think about that and think about maybe what could be missing from your day to day. Because even if it's like a once a week thing, I mean, you gotta check in probably a little bit more. Otherwise, that stress just gets overwhelming. And I don't know, really, I think the other thing I really want to say is that the part about having a partner who supports your career and also will keep you in check and will remind you if you're not keeping up your end of the bargain is important. Having a family that supports your choices and makes it easy for you to have a family that you want to have, a large family like I do, and work at the company that you want to work at and that you love. I have been very blessed in that way, that I have been able to stay here in spite of maybe some of the challenges of having all this in my life. How could I help you to do it, or to make the choice to do it? I don't know if it really is something that I would be able to tell you how to do, but I would encourage, even like the guys, it doesn't matter if I'm a girl and you're a guy, like it's the same kind of challenge. You want to be with your kids. It's hard to turn work off sometimes, or to make choices, but and my kids are the most important thing, and so it's been a lot easier as I've grown up too. I was very young when I started, and I was very immature, and I think things have changed drastically for me, where now my perspective is changed, and I think my goals and my values are in the right place, so that is good. I'm sure I have a lot of other things in my sheets here. I wrote a lot of things. I just, yes, that would be great.
And I think everybody can ask questions around that, but I'm interested to know, maybe if you could just share a little bit, you mentioned, you kind of referenced it in some respects, but did you have any problems if you had a really bad day at work, to be able to turn that off when you get home?
Yeah.
And not have it reflect, or vice versa, where things are a little bit tough at home or whatever, you've had a bad day, and then bringing that to work? I mean, did you have to consciously try to manage that, or was that something you could just do?
That's a really good question, and it's in here. The thing about that is that I don't have to turn it off when I come to work. If I've had a really bad morning, it doesn't matter, because I don't know, there's just something about getting to work that makes me happy, if I can say that. It's the truth. And so I usually feel really, really good when I'm there, but when people talk at you all day long, and it's so stressful, because I'm not going to sugarcoat, if you don't do my job, some of you have and some of you do, it's stressful, and it is like ADD city. There's like phone calls and emails and customers staring at you, and people, it's just nonstop, right? So it gets, you want to go home and you want to just turn everything off. And I don't get to do that. So, and that's my choice. So I have to make a conscious effort, and it is an effort, to be present, to listen, to not shut down. I have, it's definitely a struggle. So it's a good question, and I would encourage all of you to, that is when like the meditation or some sort of quiet time. That's why Chuck and I don't drive to work together and back, to be honest, is because I need like a half an hour decompress of like no one talking to me, and I can listen to NPR, or I can listen to the radio, or I can talk to my mom, which is what I do a lot of the time. And it's a nice time to just be doing what I want. It's like my only time to do what I want. So, Dad?
Would you say that you got the ability to stay present and not shut down from your daddy?
What, right now?
No, when you go home.
You don't call me so often at night. Oh, Dad.
That was an insider between me and her.
It's a constant struggle with you two. Does anyone have any other more questions? Joey?
I'm wondering, as your family's gotten bigger and more active, and you and Chuck, how have you managed activities like around work time and stuff like that?
Like during work time?
Well,
you got to find.
And there's this activity at you got to be gone by 4. How do you guys work together on that? How does that go?
Oh, yep. So here's what happens a lot of times. That's unusual, but it's going to come up, right? I tell people I have to leave at 4 so that they don't do what this guy did where he's talking to me till 4:30 and then I still have voicemails and emails that I have to check because maybe I've been talking to him for 2 hours, right? So, but the point is like for two things. You have to have good communication with your partner and be able to know ahead of time who's going to leave and who's not going to leave, especially for him and I, because we're both like, whoa, and then we look at each other at the end of the day at 4:15 and be like, are you going to leave or am I going to leave? And then, got to get to daycare by 5. So it's, we have to talk about it ahead of time. And it's like a set plan. Who's going to do what? We have 3 stops most mornings. St. Rose, daycare, De La Salle. And we need to plan it ahead of time because otherwise it's messy. But how do we do the activities?
Well, to like daycare, but all of the stuff that's outside.
You have to share it. You got to share it. I think like it's like the mom's job a lot of times to do that kind of stuff. But if the mom's working and the dad's working, then I think both peoples need to participate in that. The getting to stuff is really important to me. I get to stuff. And so I know you do too. So I'm not talking at you, but the kids are not going to remember much, but they remember if you get to stuff. Chuck remembers his parents didn't come to anything. And it's hurtful. Still. So you guys did good, Dad. But I mean, I think, not everybody has that ability, right? So, if you communicate with your kids and you tell them, tonight is my night to work, and I can't just take off every time you have a thing. They'll get it, but if you just never, if you just don't tell them, and you just don't come, and they think you don't care, that's different, right? But the other thing about having like a busy, active family and 2 jobs is that you have to have a support system, whether it's another member of the family or friends at your school or like a Nikki or somebody who can come. I mean, like people who come and like help out and do stuff. That's important. And usually people are willing to help if you ask, right? Hopefully.
Especially Nikki.
Everybody should have it.
I think that's true.
I've heard a lot of things.
Oh,
When you get home, do you shut it off?
no,
No? I mean, emails, your phone,
no.
somebody, yeah. It's hard, isn't it?
Yeah, but I don't look at it from like 5 to 7. I mean, that's not true. I try really hard. And then usually like what happens is, not every night, but a lot of nights, and this is what you do when your kids are little, you just work when they go to bed if you gotta work. And not everybody chooses to do that, but you all know that I have goals, or if you don't, I have goals. And my goal is to never be in any other spot than in the number 1 spot. Currently, I'm in number 2, and that's all right. Barely, and that's all right. I'm doing my best, and but anyway, you can't do that if you just work. Especially if you're doing what I'm doing and you're part-time and you're working Monday through Thursday. Also, I hate that I'm part-time. Ugh. But it was important to me that I take a pay cut and that I do that part-time job because I need to be available on Fridays so that I can volunteer at school and so that I can show up for my kids and so that I can have some sort of a semblance of normalcy at our house. Like Chuck works every other weekend and I can't work every other weekend opposite of him. I don't want to get married 3 times. And so that was important to me that we figure that out, that like we have Fridays together and every other weekend, and I don't take nighttime appointments no matter how much people beg me to work nights. I try not to do it. I'll go to events. That feels a little bit different. But anyway, I'm getting off on a tangent. But these are all things that I do to try and manage my job with what's going on at home. Yeah.
Ange?
Yes.
Have you ever store-bought cookies and put them on a really pretty plate
Oh,
and walked
yes.
into the school and looked at
Yes.
the stay-at-home moms and said, I made these?
I did that like probably in 2010 for the school bake sale. I went to Roseville Bakery and I didn't care how much they cost. I just was like, give me all those cookies. And this year, guys, I didn't
Yeah, put
even,
'em on a really nice plate.
I know, I didn't even go to the bake sale this year. I just was like, I'm kind of like feeling, I did the home and school council, I did SAC committee, I did all the things, I went to everything, and now I'm kind of just at a point where I'm like, somebody else's turn, you know, somebody else's turn. You gotta not be that person. You can't, I mean, you can if you want, but I'm saying I can't pretend to be the superstar mom and the superstar at work. And I mean, I'm a human being, and it gets to be a little overwhelming. And I was doing it to myself. I was like, I'm just gonna pretend. I'm just gonna keep adding more, and hopefully nobody notices. Well, the only people that notice are the people at your house, people that matter really. And so that's when you have to make a choice. Yeah.
I have a question.
Yes, Mary.
You had referenced saying like your perspective changed or your values and perspectives changed.
Yeah.
So is there something specific? I mean, you just talked about something right there. Are
Probably.
you thinking of something specific when you said that? Or an example of how your perspective changed?
I think you grow up for sure. Like, now I'm 37, and when I started in sales, I was 19. That's a lot of years to learn how to do this, to like manage your family. And I had a family for most of them, right? But did my perspective change at some point? I don't know if it was like a thing that happened or if it was a slow progression. I think probably one thing that actually did change is that I remember when Dad gave me the book to read called The Power of Now, and it was after he had gone through treatment, and it had been something that had helped him stay present and like, you know, figure some stuff out. And I read it and it made sense to me, some of that. So, and maybe like just at that point in my life, I think things started to look better, at least to me. Yeah.
I
No?
think you make it look really easy. Just say that.
Chris, you're nice. Oh, Chris, that's nice. She's a plant.
Came at the last minute just to
It's not really easy, but it's worth it. It's not really easy, but it's worth it. I'm sorry if I didn't speak long enough. No. Okay.
Good job out there. Well, there's two things first of all, Angie, thank you very much. I thought that was excellent. And you know, sometimes, and I appreciate you writing down the notes, but when you get up there and ad lib and come from the heart, I think it's almost more valuable in terms of speaking on that. But I really appreciate you know, taking the time to do this. And I think she said it at the beginning, that she loves talking to people and being around the family, but when you have to get up in front of everybody and do it yourself, there's something to be said about that. And you know, I would advocate that everybody try it because it helps you grow. And I think that's what she kind of referenced too, is over her career she's grown and she's learned how to do this. And it's not easy and it's not for everybody, but I think what we wanted to say the message is we thought this was something that maybe would be relevant for a lot of the 3Gs that are coming up. Whether you're working here at Warner Stellian or you're looking to start a career someplace else, or Kristen's doing it right now as a teacher, we've got a number of people, different people are doing it. I think it's important to know that it is doable. I think you hit on some top topics. You gotta like what you're doing.
Yeah.
It's gotta be very important. You gotta have a good partner. And communication is probably the number one thing, is you have to be able to communicate effectively. Because without that, it breaks down and different things happen. So with that, thank you again. Let's give her another hand. She did a great job. For this evening, does anybody have anything to add before we, yes, Bill?
If we have a couple minutes, I can hit the speech real quick, or did we want to not do that tonight?
We can have a couple minutes. You want to do that, Bill?
Who wants to be
next time?
What's that?
Who wants to speak?
It's a good time. Is it 5 minutes?
Do it.
Or no?
Do it.
Guys, we've been, first, I want to, Ange, I thought you did fabulous. And you are exemplary, so you don't have to say much when you back it up so well. The family's been working on a process called traction. Maybe some of you guys know about that. Just pass these down. And all year. And from that, we've got some governance changes that are coming that Jeff announced in an email some time ago, effective on Jan 1. And for those of you that work in the company, I just wanted to touch on this real quick too, but also say that Bob coming in as the president Jan 1 and Brian Halitsky coming in as the general manager will have oversight over all of our department managers as of Jan 1 is going to challenge us all. And we hope that the family members lead by example and by their support and really help us make this work. Because this is a big change for us, but it's one that is a game changer for the company potentially too. So that I wanted to say that. And then part of the traction process is identifying the core values of the company and producing a speech, if you will, a way to share them. Do we have extra copies of that? So we put this together, the leadership team, which has basically been, Duff, Carla, myself, and Bob, and then Jim Beitendorp and Brian Halitsky. Jimmers joined us for some of our meetings as well. But these are the values that we think that Grandpa started the business with. It's the values that we want to exemplify in our actions, in our work, and we think that it's important that whether you work for the company or not, you should be able to speak to some of these things and see these qualities in yourself as you interact with other people and represent the company and the family. So here they are. Family's number one. All right, so we are a family business. We're very family. People come into our company, they tell us this all the time. If you are an employee of Warner Stein, you need to be an appliance specialist. That's what we are. So we're family, but I've got it noted here that everybody's personal achievement in the company is very important, and their fulfillment are important. Angie touched on that. You've got to love what you do. If you don't love it here, you're probably not going to be a great member of the family. So that's something to think about in business. We're loyal. Loyalty's number two. They're not in any specific order of importance, but just in a sequence that hopefully makes sense. When you're loyal, you show up. You show up for your job, you show up for each other, you have each other's back. Okay, that's how we want to be as a company, that's how we want to be as a family, and we always speak highly of the company and our coworkers. And that should go the same if you're not working in the company. You talk about the company in Warner Stein, you should talk in a very positive manner to others in your circle and represent the company well there. We're fair. We do the right thing. And if we say we're going to do it, we do it. Okay, so that's a great life lesson too. The fastest way to lose credibility is to say you're going to do something and not do it. People will not take you seriously if you do that. So it's very, very important that you do what you say you're going to do and that you treat people right and treat people fairly. And I think Grandpa you were the best at that, Dad. Everybody says that. Passion, you got to have passion. Angie, love your passion. You got passion for your work. Without it, you don't have the will to compete. And if you don't compete, you lose, obviously. So we expect to win. I think this is Carla's line, that we make up a positive, high energy, and ultra productive organization, and we genuinely love what we do. That means you hustle. All right, if you got passion, you hustle and you win. The next is inspiration. It's part of our mission statement, and it's something that we think most people want. They want to be inspired, whether they're buying an appliance or looking for a job or, ordering a cup of coffee. All right, they want to be inspired. So that is one of our values, and we have to lift each other up, and we motivate our peers to become the best they can be by our own strong example and our good counsel to them. And then it's all about the customer. So that's where this thing ends, and I'll be done. Everything we do at the company needs to be focused on the customer. We get all these other things right, and we lose the customer. What do we have? Nothing. So everything has to focus on the customer. And I loved what Angie said too about, she had a bad morning, it doesn't matter, This customer needs help. This customer needs assistance. And they're there to purchase something from us. And we need to take that seriously and treat them the very best we can. Whether they need service, or they bought something, they spent $10,000, they spent $500. But it's all about the customer. If they're not satisfied, we lose. So it's just very, very important, and I've got here the most important customer touch is the next one, because it's easy to get frustrated. And to say, I don't feel like being good to this customer right now. I'm angry about the last customer. Well, that doesn't work. That doesn't work. So we wanted to share this with you real quick because we've been, we worked on it this year. You're probably going to hear it more if you work for the business. This is something we hope we are speaking to you about ongoing, and we hope that you can speak to it yourself too, with your teams, with your coworkers and so forth to lead by example. So I just wanted to share it real quick. Thanks, you guys.
I think that's it then. Does anybody else have anything to share or add before we adjourn? Otherwise, going once, going twice?
Who brought Chow? Who got Chow together again?
Yeah, Allison.
We already mentioned it, thank you.
Yeah, Allison.
Thank you.